Imagine this. Imagine the world is a massive ball of clay. I now ask you this question. Whose global hands will be most influential in shaping the year, the markets, stocks, and your money? With pressing issues worldwide, from Russia invading Ukraine and now dealing with U.S. and European sanctions, to European weakness with Germany holding up the Eurozone, to Japan, which had to walk back its economic plan, to North Korea's aggression, we've got the man who's ready to pinpoint the powers. Joining us now in a Fox Business exclusive is former Secretary of Commerce and Albright Stonebridge Group Chair, Carlos Gutierrez. Great to have you, Mr. Secretary.
Hi, Liz. Thank you. Pleasure.
Well, at a time when there are so many questions hanging over the markets, I first want to begin just simply asking you a very tough question. Can you put those in order, and are we missing any on who shapes the global world?
Well, you know, I can't remember a year where there has been so much uncertainty, so many balls up in the air, and it's so ironic that the sea of calm, the economy with the most stability at this point is the U.S. So it's all coming back to, you know, the U.S. seems to be the safest place to be. Europe, as you said, is stagnant. It's really all about Germany. They have to do something, and if they do too little, then we have the risk of European deflation, which would be awful. Japan is going to go into really an experiment, probably the largest QE experiment in the world. And what is that going to do to the Japanese currency? Will that start a currency war in Asia? China seems to be, you know, trying to level out at 7%. I think they can do that, but that's going to require a lot of adjustment internally. I tell you, the U.S. is looking better all the time, Liz.
That doesn't mean, though, that we are immune to the problems.
I agree.
Exactly. So let me tackle Japan here. Shinzo Abe, who, of course, is the Prime Minister of Japan, is right now facing a very tough situation. Today, the 5-year Japanese bond, JGB, hit a 0% yield. Carlos, so tell us exactly how that would affect a U.S. investor and that perspective.
Well, you're going to have, I mean, in terms of Japan, the Japanese currency is just going to go to levels that we haven't seen in a long time. And then, of course, investors are going to be moving their money out of Japan. The only advantage to them in the short term will be exports, because they'll have a very weak currency. But I think that's just going to trigger a currency war throughout Asian countries.
I keep saying that Russia really holds the cards when it comes to shaping what happens globally, because they are a huge economy and they're in a lot of trouble, getting smacked with a double punch of very, very low oil prices. This is an oil nation that's very much driven by that commodity, but also the sanctions are very much hurting Putin. What happens next in Russia?
Yeah, I think the thing overall, kind of big picture on Russia is they are at their most unpredictable and potentially their most dangerous level when they are weak, when they are up against the wall, when they're in a corner as they are today. So, you know, yesterday they issued a new military doctrine, which is all about NATO. It's all about the West. It's all about making friends with those countries that aren't friendly with the U.S. This is the most dangerous time for Russia. But economically, they're going to have a very, very tough 2015, and how Putin reacts to that will most likely be aggressive as opposed to pulling back.
One last question. We've got about 15 seconds. The good point on the globe? Can you give us a positive for the end of this?
Well, no, I'll tell you, I think the U.S. is looking, if you're not strong in the U.S., you're not strong globally. Right. We still have, you know, we still have Dodd-Frank to deal with, the Affordable Care Act, a lot of EPA regulations, but no country in the world looks as stable right now as the U.S., and I think that's incredible, because 2 years ago, people were making a fortune writing articles about how it's the end of the U.S.
Never count out America. It's good to see you. Thank you, Carlos. Good
Always
to see
a pleasure, Liz.
Carlos Gutierrez, former U.S. Secretary of Commerce and Albright Stonebridge Group Chair. We appreciate it.